Welcome back to our part two of careers in a time of crisis. We didn't get to cover all the questions that we wanted to cover in our first part one. So we decided to record another part two as well and to address some of the questions as well. We maybe just for me to sum up and just recap some of the things, the learning points that we had in part one, where we talked about how we manage change. And June talked about the need to reflect and rethink, to take this time to refresh and reinvent ourselves, and also then to restart and rebuild. So these were some of the principles that she gave us. And then Stefan also shared a bit about his experience in going through retrenchment and how he coped with that. And he gave us some points about, very practical points: find a career mentor, be dare to be different, to try all kinds of jobs, constantly learn and innovate, focus and excel, trust and honesty, being, forming your personal brand so that others can see and value that. And then know when to quit as well, to discern from the Lord when is the time to quit and move on to another place. And then to stay connected and plan ahead. And really it's about our faith and our purpose as well. So really had a lot of good insights from the first part one. And we're just going to jump straight into part two. Actually, in part one, we ended off with a question for one of the participants about, in careers, there's this great peer pressure where everybody is moving up the ladder, or everybody's progressing in terms of promotions, their job titles, their pay, and the pressure is there to want to perform and to, in a sense, move up that ladder as well. And well, Singaporeans, there's this sense of the fear of losing out, and we talked about fear also in the beginning in the part one. So maybe we can start this time with June, with your background in HR and all that. This is how do we deal with peer pressure with regards to our careers? The need to constantly be getting that promotion or constantly be moving up that career ladder.
I think it is very real that as human beings, we tend to compare, and we always feel very inadequate when we compare ourselves to our colleagues who are maybe doing better than us. But I think it's very important as Christians, as I shared earlier on, right? We need to be clear, who are we first? What am I after? Because if I'm very clear on who I am, what I want to do, what I want to be, then there's no need for us to compare, because each of us is very different. Your colleague's priority might be very different. She or he may be doing very well, but what about her other areas of life? Is she enjoying, a great family environment? How is her other circles? I was reminded that if we want to really succeed, right, from good to great, somebody shared about, it's not about being good to great, but good to blessedness. You need to start with your first circle, which is getting yourself right with God first. So when you get yourself right with God, then you can think of your second circle, which is your spouse, if you're married, right? And then your third circle is really your family. Then the fourth circle is friends. And actually the last circle is your career. So if you get your priorities right and you know who you are, the career will come along, so you don't have to worry about competition. But I think it is good to know what's happening outside, because the competition will give us an idea of maybe what's available in the market. What is it that is out there that I can leverage the opportunity? And so long as we know what we are capable of doing and what we want to achieve, and we do the best to try and achieve our own life's goal, then I think you'll be very happy, because your happiness or your satisfaction cannot be based on how people are doing. Then you're putting unnecessary pressure on yourself. I think the athletes, they used to say that the competitor is not outside, the competitor is myself. So you compete within yourself. Are you doing the best that you can be? Because if you are realizing your best potential, and with God's help, He will grant you success, but success may not be defined in monetary terms. It may be in the other circles of life, as I mentioned.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
if I may chip in, I could summarize it as don't give in to peer pressure. If in your career you find your passion, follow your dream, you focus on what you yourself know you can do well. And once you achieve a level of competence and perfection, you find that peer pressure is no longer an issue because you're doing what you enjoy doing, whether it's a painter, artist, or musician, or even a mathematician, or even a cleaner, you know. God has given all of us different skills. It's up to us to find what that skill set is and then work on it and improve on it. And then you should be fine. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that also going along in part one, where Stefan, you said that, you know, just try different things, try all jobs, right? Those you like and those you dislike. Then that's where you are able to discover what are your strengths and where your passions lie in. So to really try all things. And I thought I can pitch in and share also my experience. I mean, I was working in the public sector for 12 years, something like that. Very comfortable job, well paid, you know, but I decided to make a change and I went into a charity organization. I took a 30% pay cut. That was a lot. And I mean, I have children and to look after as well. So my husband is working, thank God. But, you know, with that, it was totally different industry. But I learned so many new things. And it was an area that I could leverage on my strengths. And I was passionate about. And I was put into, like June, you always say, the best way of learning is throw into the deep end, right? So this really, you know, learning new opportunities and really doing things that I was uncomfortable, stepping out of my comfort zone. That's where I really learned. And it was how God was really leading. So it was not so much, I think the satisfaction came, not about the pay, but the learning experience and the kind of skills that I gained from the change also. That was very valuable. Yeah. So for today's session, we wanted to talk a lot more about some skill sets. You know, what are the future skills? What is life after COVID? And we also talked about, maybe some jobs are going to be made redundant. Some skill sets are going to be redundant. We're all going to learn new skills like now technology, you know, online learning and all these. We've got to pick up all these new skills. So maybe we could go into our first question or rather the next question for part two. So really it's what do you think are the new skill sets that we should be looking out for in the future? And because I see both of you as futurists, I mean, I know you all both are willing to try new things, you're forward looking. And so in your opinion, what are the skills that we need for the future and how can we go about equipping ourselves? Because I mean, it's one thing to stop work, take a full-time course, you know, to do a mid-career switch, but that requires time and money, and not all of us are able to afford to do that. How do we go about equipping ourselves for these new future skills also?
Maybe I can kick that off. COVID for me is a gift for everybody to take a pause in their life and reevaluate what they can do with themselves. So it's an important time in everybody's life. And as I said in one of my slides, post-COVID, the world will not be the same. So we need to find what we are aptly able to cope with and adapt to it. So in general terms, for individuals under 50 who find themselves with extra time at home, they should use that to learn new skills with enterprise and imagination. And if you have children, you should prepare your children for the demands that future work might make on them as new kinds of jobs are created that are also likely to evolve at greater speed. For example, who would have imagined pre-COVID that church congregations are meeting, worshiping, praying together online? You know, it was almost unimaginable. because we had to be physically present. But all of us have adapted to it. We've enjoyed it. We're actually a lot closer to God because we brought him literally into our home. He was always there, but we were reminded that he's there. So it's a key transition that we should be sensitive and be aware of. Now, for those of us that are older, we need to be extra careful because career opportunities are in less demand, but still there. Even for us, like myself, 70 plus, there's still opportunities if we want to look for it. And be very selective in picking up new skills or another, and at least offer our previous work experience to help advise those that are younger, your children, those in your friendship group, your church, etc., etc. And for the older ones, it's important we keep as healthy as possible because we don't want to be burdens to our children or our grandchildren and weaken their ability to respond to a rapidly changing work environment. So that's a lot of the life skills that one need to adapt and change to. June, perhaps you might want to comment, and then I can pick up a few bullets as we go along.
Okay, for me, when I think of change, this change doesn't come about because of COVID. I think as I shared earlier on, we live in a VUCA world. So in a VUCA world, there is constant disruption. And we have been saying that because there's constant disruption, you need to relearn, unlearn, and really acquire new skills and create new value so that you can survive. The only difference is that COVID has made it more pervasive. People don't like to change, but now the change is forced upon you. You have no choice but to change. Because if you don't change and adapt, you are going to die. You are going to make yourself irrelevant. And you cannot offer any value. You cannot find a job. You cannot even start a business. So to me, if I want to survive, forever, okay, it's not even post-COVID, we talk about new normal. But after a new normal, there will be another disruption. We don't know what that will be. But there are two things that I want to talk about. These are really about character and competence. But between character and competence, I think character is really more enduring and much more important because character is about our hardware. It's a software. It is about the values that guide us. So until we get that values and mindset, the behavioral part right, I think we won't be able to do well in our competence. So from my experience, when I recruited people, I think Agnes would know also, right? That when I look at people, even for my team and my organization, I focus a lot on the values. What are the values that this guy bring into the organization? And what does he stand for? And of course, I look at the experience, but when I look at the experience, I don't ask about the know-how. I'm more interested to say, so what did you do? And why did you do what did you do? Because that gives me an insight into the person's attributes, behavioral pattern, and the mindset. And these are very valuable. So experience has shown me that if you get the character right, the competence will come and the results will come. But we have made mistakes where we just recruited people based on competence and experience. And the guy didn't fit in, or he's such a bad team player, and he doesn't have the right value. In the end, he is, a dent to the organization. He's not contributing. So I would say focus on your character first. Know who you are. That's why I was saying it's so important to get back to basic. Who are you? And especially if you're a Christian, right? You are a Christ ambassador. You want to manifest, his persona in the workplace. And so one of the characteristics I would say is very important, and which Jack Ma himself spoke about, is the need for LQ, which is love quotient. IQ, AQ are important, but they are not sufficient to enable you to be successful. So he said that you need to have love quotient, because why? The world that we live in is about relationship. You need to think of the services that you offer, right? You got to consider that you are trying to solve a problem out of love, So is that love radius. And I think as Christian, if we have that persona to say, yeah, I am not just loving my God, right? But I love my God through my words and my action in the workplace, in the marketplace, then people who see me will appreciate, they can appreciate that I'm adding value. So I think to me, that is really the soft part. It seems very difficult, but I think it's very important. So broadly, I would say that aside from that, I will want to highlight the 5C to help us thrive in the new world. The first C is be courageous. We need to be courageous to challenge and disrupt the status quo, dare to try new things, dare to learn from failure, and dare to actually give differing view, because a lot of people tend to be echoing what the boss want to hear. But I think it's important to give very diverse views so that, everyone dare to share what is really in their heart and in their mind. And in so doing, you can actually solve very complex problems and really create value for the customers. Secondly, I think I mentioned about it, right? The second C is really be creative and innovative. You cannot keep doing the same thing all over again, And when people talk about innovation now, they always start with, what is the problem you want to solve? You don't create a product and then try and sell it. You actually should try and see what are the problems that society is facing, the community is facing at the workplace. Then with that, you start to find out what are the pain points, right? So with that growth mindset and a victor mindset, and you're prepared to be agile, adaptable, then you start to try new solution, test it, iterate it, and in the new world they talk about pivoting it. Don't be stuck with the solution. Go out and test. If it doesn't work, just pivot it so that you can get better and better as you kind of refine your product or your services. Thirdly, we have to be collaborative, because you don't know the answer. Like even right now fighting this COVID, right? The government really has to engage the community. You cannot be there doing all the planning from your ivory tower. You got to go to the ground. And the ground situation is so complex. And because it's so complex, you need to leverage the wisdom of the crowd. You need to know what's happening. And that's where relationship and connection comes in, because the one who knows the people on the ground, right? And you are already connecting, the pain point. I think like the migrant worker issue, it helps that they engage the community. So there is a group of migrant workers coalition who are working with the government to solve the migrant challenge. And that makes it easy for the government to really come in and roll out the solution. So it's very important that connection, the relationship across multidiscipline and across the industry to create better solution. Fourthly, I spoke about love earlier on. To me, it's also about showing compassion and showing care. We are human beings. We are not human doing. Unfortunately, a lot of us, we are always rushing. We are like in a mad, race, right? We're like the rats going round and round. We don't stop to think, do the things that I do, am I having compassion? Do I really care, for my people, for my customers? Am I showing love? Am I really making a difference? People who want to make a difference, actually the products sell better. So I think it's important to think about, what is it that you really care about, and be service oriented, because there's also a saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And when you care for the people, you show compassion, the results will come. Even your customers will support you. You see that you are a startup guy, right? But you're so caring for the customer. Customers will actually advertise for you and buy more for you and be loyal to you. Finally, as a Christian, I would say the last C is that our values must be Christ-centered. I spoke about we being the ambassador. And actually, when I even talk about brand, right? I think Jesus Christ himself is an amazing example of a great brand. So imagine if we could just personify his brand and what he stands for and offer that service mindset. He's always a miracle worker, servant leader, caring for people. He's always in the marketplace bringing value. So he's always talking about love and manifesting, love by his deeds. So I think if we can do all that, then I would say that you can really survive in the tough time. So I was talking a lot about the character. So what about the competence? I think competence cover both the soft skill and the hard skill. The soft skill, which is almost like the horizontal piece, right? It is really about the relationship building skills. You need to know how to engage stakeholders. You need to know how to influence them. I think it's very important to talk about interpersonal relationship. And I think communication skills are very important. Learning to listen, learning to empathize. So to me, that is a soft skill. So you have the horizontal. And then, of course, the vertical will be your hard skill, and which is very much your domain and the industry know-how. Right now, I would say that the jobs and skill sets which are very much in demand are in the tech and the digital world. So if you should go for skills like AI, data analytics, software development, even the hardware, right? IoT, IT security, cloud, blockchain, user design, customer management, ops and logistic management, all these are now very important. And then when you think about the emerging new market, fintech is a great market, and DBS already announced that I think they're going to recruit 2,000 people. They're going to offer traineeship. So while there is disruption, there are also opportunities. And the food, people are coming out with alternative ideas for food, right? Because we are all limited, so how do we solve the food problem? And supply chain and healthcare and climate change, these are very important. So I see that those are the roles that are very critical. So if you think about it, the horizontal soft skill, what I said, right? And then the vertical hard skill, the bottom, the I shape, we call it I, is really what I said just now, is about the values and character. So how do we build character and competence? My belief, as Agnes has echoed just now, just do it. Throw yourself in the deep end. Because from my own experience, nobody taught me to do the job that I was asked to do. It's always brand new, area for me. But I see what is important is having a lot of common sense, right? And dare to ask questions. Because when you dare to ask questions and you try new things, then that's where you learn. So research has shown that on the job actually contributes to 70% of your development. It's what I call a 70-20-10 approach. So 70% of your development comes from on the job learning. Throw yourself into a deep end, and then you reiterate, you try new skills, and you basically learn along the way. And you also learn a lot about yourself, how do you overcome challenge. 20% is what Stephen, I think earlier, has shared about looking for a mentor, look for a coach, learn from people, learn by observation. Now, 10% is only education. A lot of people are talking about classroom learning. There are a lot of free online courses. Harvard, Stanford, they have offered a lot of online courses, but those are only 10%. So you can be a very good learner, but until you put that learning into action, right, you're not going to develop any skills at all. So I would say focus on development. And how do you focus on development? I mentioned just now, right? There are a lot of opportunities. If we are out of job, can we go and help the migrant workers? There are problems to be solved, right? Now, when you mobilize a team to solve the problem, maybe you create a solution which later on can become a product. And even if you don't come up with any new and innovative way, the fact that you're already helping, you are discovering yourself that you never thought. Maybe you discover a lot of new skills. You start to do a lot of big operation planning that you've never done before. So jobs like that, or 10 jobs like that, will offer you opportunity to grow your skills. And I know that the government has started to look into traineeship. They're asking companies to offer traineeship. So take those opportunity to go on the traineeship, and even if they don't pay you, I think offer your free service, because rather than staying at home doing nothing, right? Get out there, do any job, just be humble, give your best, and once you're humble to learn, you just people will open the door for you, and they will become your mentor, and maybe they even offer you on the job, development opportunities. So I think it is really very important, ultimately, that if you really want to gain new experience, mindset, which are transferable and which will put you in good stead, you should be out there taking ownership to make all these things happen.
Yeah, I think so. Really, career development, your own personal career development is we must take ownership for it.
Yes.
What I'm hearing, right? Because
Yes.
I think also last time when I was in HR and when I interacted with staff, the complaint would be like, hey, my boss never promote me, or the company never look out for me, or don't value me, or my boss doesn't send me for training. So it was always a lot of pointing towards like, my boss should be the one taking care of me, my company should be the one taking care of me. But actually, career development is a lot of your own ownership that you must take charge of and put that steps in.
Yes.
So that's maybe one of the mindsets that we have to change for ourselves also. But I just want to pick on something that you mentioned and follow up from there. You were talking about character competency, and then one of the areas you said that, especially now things are changing so fast, we need to learn creativity and innovation, right? And I think we hear that buzzword a lot now. We have to constantly innovate, we have to create. But is that something learnable? Is creativity and innovation learnable, or it's more innate? And how do we learn to be innovative and creative?
Okay, there are two schools of thoughts. I belong to the school who believes that creativity and innovation can be learned. Then there is another school of thought that says that you either have it, or you don't. So it's innate. So in my previous workplace, because I believe very strongly, and my CEO also believed that innovation and creativity can be nurtured, we actually consciously built that innovative culture. And why do I say that? In fact, I even met this professor of innovation. He said it can be learned. It's like strategic planning. Anyone can learn it. It's common sense. And one of the things that he shared with me was that he said that in the earlier years, he found that Singaporeans were quite innovative and creative. He said, unfortunately, in the past few years, we are not. Why? Because we don't know how to ask questions. We are very good at giving answers. So the people who are very good at asking questions are the Chinese, the Vietnamese. Now, and then that's a bit scary, right? It's why? Because our system doesn't allow us to ask questions or like ask stupid questions. So it's like the Israeli, why are they so innovative? Because the mother will ask the son, or the daughter, right? Not how many marks you score, but what question do you ask in school today? So if you expose your people to questioning, and I think those who work with me, they will know. I have got people, in my, there was one girl, I decided to take her out from her job. She was a graduate, but when I took over the role, I was horrified to find that she was taking care of payroll and she locked herself in the room. So being new, right, I questioned her. I said, what are you doing? I said, how can you, as a graduate, right, only do payroll? Payroll work, first of all, is very administrative. Secondly, it can be outsourced. Her job can be gone. So I said, I want to take her out, right? Now, but because she has been in the job for so long, she doesn't really think. So I remember my manager said, you want to take her? No, she's not good at questioning. I don't think she can do the new role. I said, you leave her there, it's like the frog, right, in the well. The frog will die because, the water is coming to drown her, right? I said, no, take her out. And with patience and with coaching, with coach her, I'm very proud to say that this girl, after that, acquired new skills, and she was headhunted to do another job. So I have many stories where I take my people out, and they said, wow, they can't think. And even my recent job, right? People say, oh, I cannot think, I never thought of it that way, but I question them. And through teaching them how to question, and it's always asking questions, and then don't sit in your world, right? How do you innovate? You go outside, you talk to people, you learn from people. And when you learn from people, your mindset opens, your horizon opens. That's how you create, that's how you innovate. Anyway, innovation, as I say, cannot come about on your own. You cannot sit under the tree and then the coconut will drop, right? You basically have to go and talk it out. Maybe the coconut will drop and then few of us will look at the coconut from a different perspective. And then you can actually co-create a solution. So innovation cannot be done alone. And that's where relationship is very important. So that's why my 5C apply, right? You can be innovative and you cannot do alone. You know, even Jesus Christ, when he was creative, right? He multiplied the 2 fish. He didn't do it alone. The boy gave him the 2 fish, and with the little fish, he multiplied it. And people were there to also help to distribute the food. So my view is that it's learnable and it's about questioning, but it's always a lot of mindset. So in the when I started this innovation culture, right, I actually focus on startup, and I tell everybody that behave like a startup. Think of yourself like you're Agnes Private Limited, June, I'm June Private Limited. Stephen, I understand you have your own company, it's Stephen Private Limited. So if you are a company, what would you do? You go all out, you see. So you create that brand and you just do your best and always ask questions, you know. And innovation right now, one of the core skills, if you're thinking of a new job, is user design. Go and ask people, so what pain point? What do you like to see? You know, so when you start doing that, these are innovation. And innovation is really making things better and creating value. So I feel, yes, it is learnable, but you have to be prepared to do it.
Okay, thanks for that.
I think June has already highlighted the importance of having a mentor.
Yeah.
Good example.
You have been a mentor to many.
Right.
No, I always challenge all my staff, right? So initially they cannot take it, but I think after that they appreciate the value, because it's actually getting them outside the comfort zone, because they are not used to thinking. So when you get them to think big, right, before you it's like diverge and convert, they kind of get lost. But you need to kind of diverge first. But later on, of course, you converge, and you just know that not everyone has got skill sets, right? So you complement, you know, I'm not an expert in everything, but I have a great team, you know. So it's my team, like Agnes, she was my great staff, you know. Without her, I cannot get things executed. You know, I'm more of an idea person, but someone need to make it happen. So she actually compliments me, you know, and she's also, I mean, Agnes can also share her learning as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, June. Stefan, what about you? What we were talking earlier about before I asked about innovation. We were also talking about skill sets.
June covered a lot of the salient points already, so I'll just try and supplement rather than repeat. In life, we are always challenged. So life itself will throw obstacles in our way, and we must be patient and listen more. Adopt a 360 view of what is happening so that you can listen and learn. So when you identify issues, we need to quickly solve them efficiently. COVID-19 was totally unexpected and has affected all strands of life. I mean, who would have imagined that SIA had to ground 97% of their fleet? I mean, it's mind-blowing. The hotels I told you about, most of them are either closed or mothballed because there's no business coming in. So we must be innovative and daring enough to find ways to work around it, find another way to it. Remote working has increased, and we must learn new skills and adapt to change. I'll give an example. A lot of restaurants folded up, but those that did not fold up retrained their waiters to be delivery men, cooks, etc., and they survive by going directly into the online delivery space, which is something you would never imagine for a 5-star restaurant or fine cuisine. So that's a very simple, colloquial example of what you can do to adapt. The second is that you need to be more relevant. Don't focus on the temporary details of your life. Focus on God and humanity, what you can contribute to the Father and to mankind. Because if we spend our life basically being distracted by material pursuits, peer pressure, etc., instead of dwelling on our purpose, our destiny, we will lose out. And that's where fear and despair set in. And it doesn't need to. Just don't forget to focus and go to God for guidance in terms of what you need to do. June covered new technologies very, very, very well, and I'm not going to repeat it. Technology is here to stay. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Learn. Ask your children, grandchildren to teach you. Ask your friends to teach you. Grab it by the horns and get around it, because it is a blessing, not a curse. Stay connected. We covered that also. We need people. We need the connection. If it's virtual, it works just as well, because we are sharing ideas. We're sharing our feelings, our sentiments. One of my good friends in Hong Kong, his father passed away, and he was totally devastated. I couldn't fly to Hong Kong for obvious reasons, but we connected virtually by video, by FaceTime, and we tried to comfort each other. Me comforting him, obviously, more than vice versa. But these are the things that you work around. Sometimes you have to find solutions to be a better human. We talked about surviving when you hit a roadblock. Pause, look, listen, and create opportunities. You don't, like the frog in the well analogy, survive by just croaking at the bottom and hoping for something to come by to lift you up. You need to find a way. And believe it or not, there is a way when there's a will. So one thing that's very clear, and more, a lot is possible when we widen our global network. And we need to become leaders in our field. Helping others, believe it or not, is actually helping yourself. June brought up ideas about helping the migrant workers, helping the handicapped in the neighborhood who can't go to the market, etc., etc. Because by opening ourselves to other tasks of helping each other, we are actually helping ourselves explore and find new ways to live our life. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, what I'm hearing a lot from both of you, you mentioned quite a few times, is this whole thing about staying connected to one another, being collaborative, where we can't work in silos anymore. We have to collaborate. And I was just thinking about this, that yeah, even for church, we are collaborating, we're trying to collaborate and work together with the government. We are also collaborating, like recently our church had a blood drive, even during the circuit breaker, and we collaborated with Red Cross to that. So it's really across industries, across, I mean, we being a church, we are working across, not just in Christian organizations anymore. It's just really working broadly as well. And that's how we get new things, new ideas flowing and things done. Yeah. I think both of you covered also, the aspect of compassion and care during this time. And you talked about some of the values that we have, that we bring as Christians in the marketplace. So I also wanted to ask, as you might have, you covered a little bit earlier already, but any more that we can say as Christians in the marketplace, we are to be salt and light for God. When the marketplace now, we don't know whether, we are going to be back in a physical office to be able to be salt and light, or whether everything's going to be virtual now. We really don't know. But how can we honor God as Christians in the marketplace?
In one sentence, we need to walk the talk. Don't just read about the good things that we need to do. We need to actually make sure we practice it. And one thing I am thankful for about COVID-19, it is brought to the forefront of everybody's mind the importance of the essential workers, the healthcare providers, the cleaners, the hawkers that we have taken for granted. I mean, how many of us as Christians say hello or good morning to the rubbish collector that goes by every morning? I mean, assuming that we have that opportunity. You'd be surprised that a simple hello or good morning makes their day. And this is what I mean by walking the talk. We have to start doing it. I mean, I'm, as you all probably know, an environmental advocate. I abhor that even as Christians, we tend to litter. We leave our dirty dishes on the food center table without clearing it. I mean, walk the talk. Clean up after we do. Don't litter, you know. Use reusable utensils, whether it be cups or bring your own food containers. Bring the whole tank cart to the hawker center rather than use more plastic, etc., etc. There are many ways we can do it, and I could go on forever, but I think you get the point.
Okay, I agree with what Stephen said about walking the talk. To me, at all times, whether pre or post-COVID, we should honor God and be Christ's ambassador. Because in the workplace, to me, work is like worship to Him. So if we think of God as our CEO, then we will do what is right? And what is in His heartbeat. I think His heartbeat is to share love. The 2 commandments: love your God with all your heart and all your mind. Love your neighbor as yourself. So if we bring love to our workplace, I think we can be the salt and light. How can we spread love? One way to do it, of course, is really to be of service, to really show care and concern. Because you cannot say you love your colleagues, right, who are very irritable. How are you going to do that? It's very difficult. But we have to ask God to say that, okay, by right, I'm hurt. I should retaliate. But because I'm your child, I'm your ambassador, I want to forgive. Humanly, I cannot love my colleague who has hurt me, right? But I choose to forgive and ask God to put that love into my heart. Surprisingly, when you ask of that, He can use you as the thermostat, what we call. That means, do you reflect? Are you a thermometer that reflects? Because the environment is bad, you just reinforce the badness. Or when the environment is bad, you are the thermostat and you reset it, you reframe it. And you can do it because you have the love of God. So when you do that, right, you turn a bad into a good and you choose to forgive, people are going to say, hey, that person is very different. What is the difference? They will be drawn to your source of love and hope, right? Because you are not a naysayer, you are not a negative person, you are a positive person. You don't have the victim mindset, you got the victor mindset. And you have all the 5 C's, you know. So imagine people will come, and I think at the end of the day, God is interested in John 3:16, right? God wants everyone to be saved. So of course, to be saved has to be by deed lah. I mean, we cannot just preach the gospel, right? We have to show by action. And by action, they themselves discover the source of your love and your hope. They will encounter Christ. And so to me, I think is again go back to what is of value to you. Why are you in the workplace? Do you see your work as a means to only bring the bacon home? Or you see work as something that you do to honor God? Don't care whether you are a hawker or even you are a cleaner, right? You honor God. And I was very inspired recently. I saw a video of this hawker, right? She's a single mom, but she's a believer. And she said she lost 90% of the business. but because she was so faithful to God, the business came. So she actually honored God in her own way by not trying to do any other things, but just being faithful. And the business actually came, and she went to bless other people as well with the business. I think the other thing to me, I find that to be the salt and light is really to be courageous, because I hear that there's a lot of fear of bosses. I was very surprised when one of my friends, she's very senior in the workplace, she told me she collapsed in the workplace. I said, why did you collapse? Because she looked very strong. She said, because her boss was giving her hell. And of course I said that you fear no one but God, So that was like a liberating message. I said, oh, I never thought of it. I said, why do you have to fear, And especially if the person, let's say, is someone who has been tormenting others, and people tolerated that behavior. So if you want to be a salt and light, right, we can be respectfully saying, do we have the courage to bring up wrongful ways, wrongful behavior, and dare to speak out for righteousness, dare to speak out for mercy, dare to speak out for justice and equality? I think God is interested in all that. And if you do that, right, and you say you stand up for what is right and guided by your value, you don't have to worry about losing a job. I've spoken up many times. I've never lost my job, right? Because if you say God will open the door, but you do it in a way that is not demeaning, that is not destructive, but that's constructive. You give feedback to build a person up, not to destroy him. I think when you do that, and you are very conscious that God is my CEO, I do things not to please my boss. I do things not to make sure that I can get promoted, but I do things for what is right and what is pleasing in God's eye. Then you have no stress. You have no fear. And I tell you, people will come and people will offer you job. So I still go back to what I said earlier on, is fear no one but God. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And that is the best that we can have. Wisdom is the best that we can get as a gift to really thrive in this new season.
Amen. I so totally agree. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up our session. And I know Stephen has a personal message for our TPMC viewers. I think it's really good words of encouragement. So I'm going to let Stephen wrap up the session and end us off with his personal words also.
Well, the timing is perfect. I hear thunder and lightning rumbling over June's house, I think, and I hear it in the distance over mine around Novena. Let me use this analogy because it's actually quite coincidental. As we, as a community, start to slowly emerge out of the COVID-19 tsunami, I'm reminded of several experiences flying out of Hong Kong during a typhoon or heavy rainstorm. Imagine the sky is pitch black, cloudy, there's thunder and lightning flashing, the wind howling as the plane taxis for takeoff. Your seatbelts are tightly secured around you, you're gripping the armrests and praying hard that everything will be fine. The plane shakes and rattles and rolls down the runway, and upon liftoff, the plane is buffeted by strong winds, is thrown in different directions, and you are still saying your prayers. And finally, in what seems like eternity, the plane stops shaking, and suddenly it breaks through the clouds into blue skies. There's a beautiful rainbow and brilliant sunshine. And you say to yourself, wow, there's indeed a God, and He is great and beautiful. So I wrote a little poem for Payoh, which I will try and also share if tech doesn't fail me again. It goes, rejoice, Payoh Methodist Church. We are entering a new era. This is our ode, our moment. So let us own it. Let's give thanks because we didn't reach this milestone alone. This took a kampong, a God-fearing community. We are the image only ever seen in our ancestors' wildest dreams. This is our rite of passage, but more so a passage of lights. We are the bright torch that never stops burning, never quits learning. This day too shall pass, and when it does, this TPMC community won't just navigate a new normal. Together, we'll build a better and safer world. We are the good news that Singapore has been looking for, demonstrating that every dusk holds the dawn disguised within it. Today, we don't burst into a new world, we begin it by living it. Changing the world takes more than everything any one person knows, but not more than we know together. So let's work together. Amen.
Amen. And ode to TPMC. Thank you, Stefan.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good ending. Leave it.
So with those words, thank you both, June and Stefan, for taking your time off to share with us your experiences and your advice and tips and all that. I think it's been very helpful. So for those of you who are watching this, if you think that it's going to be helpful for some of your friends, do share the videos with your friends. It will be open. And yeah, continue to be salt and light in the marketplace for God. And remember, yeah, He is our CEO. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.